Hello, a huge welcome to my video. I'm so excited to see you here. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the human design energy type of a reflector. Now, reflectors are 1% of our population and are very, very special, as are all of the other human design energy types, but reflectors in particular, because when you look at a human design chart and you look at all of the shapes that are on there, the reflectors chart is completely white, which means that they have the wonderful gift of being able to sample the energy of the environment and the people around them. And as per their name, they're able to then take on that energy and reflect it back to us. Now, when I say that to somebody, they look at me a little bit confused. Reflectors can also be called mirrors. And in practical terms, they are very, very kind, non-judgmental, kind of easygoing people. They're sort of a lot more resilient than the other energy types where you have an open center. So for example, projectors, reflectors, generators, manifesting generators, when we have a white center that's what we call open, we will sample that energy and then amplify it. It will literally come into our being. And sometimes we can't discern what's our energy and what somebody else's because we've just 10x'd it. The reflector uses that energy to sample what is going on around them, to get to the truth of the people in front of them, the environment around them, so that they can then reflect this back to us. And what happens is they then shed it. They don't need to take it on. They don't need to discern what's theirs. It's literally their gift, their superpower. So they are a lot more resilient in their open centers than traditionally all of the other energy types. With reflectors, much like manifestors, they are very, very, very honest, because they have this superpower of being able to show you exactly, probably sometimes how you're even feeling, right? Or what's going on in the environment around you. So if there's a team, for example, and that team dynamic is a bit anxious, etc., the reflector's likely to take that on and in that moment behave in that way. And if you're not sure why that, you don't know that person's a reflector, then you're going to be a little bit taken aback because it's going to feel like they're a chameleon. It's going to feel like that they're changing, which they are, right? That, because they are adapting to everything that's going on around them. For reflectors, the most important areas is to be surrounded by the right people in the right environment. Because if you're surrounded by people who deplete your energy, you're literally going to be feeling that all the time. So what you want to do is get to a place where you found your people, and it doesn't have to be hundreds of people. It could be a very, very small group of people, and reflectors it generally is. And what happens is then as you go through life, you'll be sampling energy and different feelings and things from other people. And you'll be taking it on and just absorbing it within your wisdom. Oh, that's what it feels like to be happy. Oh, that's what it feels like to be excited. Oh, that's what disappointment feels like, right? And you'll kind of put that all into your own personal bank. And then you'll tap into that when you need it. But you won't mistake that energy for your own, okay? The honesty of a reflector is really refreshing, but depending on the age of the reflector will depend on how that is taken. So for example, I know a reflector, a teenager, basically, who's a reflector. I was very, very excited to meet her, and she's good friends with my projector daughter. And it was really very interesting to watch her. She's very calm, all of the wonderful things, just such a lovely, lovely young lady. But she'll literally go into school environment, and where maybe some of the kids are like coming together and they're doing some certain things, I don't know, maybe they're like, I don't know, vaping or something like that. She'll stand in her power and say, right, well, I don't want to vape. That's just stupid. Right. So she's expressing it in a way that makes sense to her because she's at the age that she's at. But, then she's having this conversation, and what's happening is that can then create friction with the person who's receiving that information, because they're like, oh, well, she's just been really blunt in her delivery and how she's, told us about that. And I'm not having that because, I think vaping's cool and whatever. Like, you can literally just see that it could create this tension. And I think that's why with reflectors and also manifestors, often the best environment, especially for young reflectors and manifestors, and in some cases projectors, is that they they have their own homeschooling environment, or world schooling, as I tend to call it. And it's not something I say lightly, because I know we all have different thoughts and feelings about, you know, the normal systems that are around us versus kind of something like homeschooling or world schooling. But it really does suit the energy of a reflector, because it means that they can experience so much more in the world, right? They can go and experience different cultures, they can go and experience different emotions, different environments, different people, and their being needs that. They need to be able to take all of that in. I heard a story, and this isn't my story, but I did hear a story where somebody said that, you know, in America, a friend of theirs is a reflector, and they literally, for a couple of days before one of the big bombings happened, she had literally nearly gone to bed, basically, really, really down, really, really sad, and couldn't work out why. And it was simply because she was taking in from the environment, taking in from the atmosphere around her, that this thing was going to happen. She knew, much like manifestors, reflectors can be are very, very intuitive as well. So she knew, she could sense it. And then, of course, the bombing happened a couple of days later, and then it started to make sense. It's almost like they have this early alarm, this early alert within their system. And that's, I think, why, you know, 1% of the population are designed as reflectors. Because imagine if we could all do that. In some ways, it would be chaos, as special as that gift is. In terms of the self-theme for a reflector, they will feel surprise and delight. So when they are fully aligned, they're with their people, they're in environments that suit them, they feel filled up and energized, and they're sort of being true to who they are. They will feel surprise and delight, which are lovely emotions. But if they're not feeling their self-theme, so they're feeling disconnected and out of alignment, they will feel disappointment. And that can run through a projector. So, I mean, a reflector, sorry. So if you think about the story I just said of my friend's daughter, you know, what she's expressing when she's saying, well, vaping's rubbish, I don't, you know, that's just rubbish. She's actually reflecting back disappointment. Okay, because it's something that's not aligned to her. She can see that it's not in alignment with her. And so in her expression, she's expressing disappointment. And that is her not self theme. With their strategy, for life-changing decisions, big decisions like the job that they want to take, or where they're going to live, and maybe even to a degree relationships, unlike any of the other energy types, a reflector needs to wait the full lunar cycle, which might sound a bit out there. It isn't. It makes complete sense, because the lunar cycle goes through different phases, and those different phases align different energies. So what you want to do is ensure that if you're a reflector and you're making a decision, that you ponder that decision, you contemplate it, you don't obsess over it, you contemplate it throughout the entire lunar cycle to ensure it remains consistent for you. You need the breadth of that lunar cycle in order to be able to give you the security in that decision. And it's not, you know, for simple things like, what am I going to eat for dinner or something like that? You know, you can't wait 28 days to decide what you're going to eat. But you can do that and spend the time when it's for big life-changing decisions, because they're going to impact you. And you can also, if you go on something like Google, you can get a lunar calendar. If you can do a little experiment as a reflector, even, you can get the lunar calendar and write down on each day, so across the 28 days, how you're feeling. If anything changes, if you're trying to make a decision, what those days are impacting, you know, creating an impact around your decision. Just journal it, because the more you understand about your decision making for you yourself, the easier it's going to be for you to embrace that 28-day cycle. So if you take nothing else from this video as a reflector, I strongly suggest going to get the lunar calendar and just, you know, journaling on those days and just seeing and learning the rhythm, your rhythm across that lunar cycle. Okay. Reflectors are also very, very wise about the human experience, because they take on so much energy. As I said, you know, the other energy types, if we have an open center, we will take on other energy and amplify it, but sometimes we'll find it difficult to discern whether it's ours or somebody else's. With a reflector, they can shed it. They can take it on, you know, and go, oh, okay, well, that's what that feels like. Oh, that's what that's about. and they will hold this wisdom in themselves, which makes them incredibly wise about the world around us, people. They'll often see things that are unexplainable. And I think we're probably now transitioning into a place where we're all embracing our knowing. Projectors often have a deep inner knowing because they're able to guide people, and they don't do that based on fact. Often it's done through intuition and something that's innately hidden inside of them. Manifestors, they're visionaries. They'll know what movements they want to be part of. They'll know the clarity in their own mind in terms of their decisions and stand in their power because they have a direct connection with source energy, right? It's all the intangible, it's the unexplainable. And that's what makes this so, so special. I'm going to give you now 5 things to take away from this video. So if you are a reflector, or if you know a reflector, just be very, very excited. You have such a beautiful energy type. So number 1 is, you can thrive by adopting a slow, open, patient approach to life. You don't need to be in rush, because that slowness, that patience that you apply to life enables you to sample the energies that are going on around you, right? It enables you to kind of take a step back and create almost like a distance between you and that energy that you're experiencing, so you can somehow almost observe it. And then you're able to kind of absorb it, but you won't absorb it as yourself. You won't become it. You'll just hold the wisdom of that learning within yourself. Experiment with the different types of people that you like to interact with and the environments. But when you know that, they are so important for your energy type, to be in the right type of environment, to be with the right type of people. Otherwise, you will feel very, very disappointed. You'll constantly be feeling you're not self-theme, and you're not here to do that. You're not self-theme is just an alert. It's just to say, oh, you've gone over there a little bit too much and it's not really where you're meant to be. Come back over here and feel your excitement and your surprise and your delight, okay? Celebrate your uniqueness. Reflectors are unique. Not only have you got the ability to take in everything that's around you and hold space for that, you're likely to also have very, very unique ideas and opinions, simply because they are formed on the fact that you have this vast amount of experience. You are magnetic, right? And not only that, stand in your truth, stand in your power. Don't be afraid to tell people or express back to people what you are seeing. You're naturally going to want to do that anyway. And what I would hate to see is that anybody sort of tie themselves up in what they should be doing, that they're shoulding, that's the word. They should be doing something. Just be you, because you're 1% of the population that have this very, very rare energy type. And you're here to help us, as a barometer, that's the word I'm looking for, as a barometer of the world, to give us a temperature of what's going on, right? That's what you're here to help us do. And that's very, very powerful. We need you to be you, to enable us to be able to understand what's going on around us, so that the manifestors of the world can go off and highlight and see problems and, and be able to kind of create movements around them. Projectors of the world can then go and guide people and go and find the most efficient way of doing something. Your manifesting generators and generators need to then get doing, so they can put the corrections and anything else, in place, right? So we all need to come together, and you need to be able to step into your uniqueness and stand in your power. Know that you will always be included by those who love you, right? So because you are very honest, because you have this ability to be able to reflect back to somebody, how they might be feeling, what's going on in the environment, something like that, it can make people uncomfortable, right? But that's not your thing, that's their thing, okay? And just know, that the people who love you, right? And be able to bask in that. And I think that's really important, that reflectors feel that safety net, if you like, okay? And then the last thing is, when it comes to work and things like that, no 9 to 5, much like the projector and the manifestor, it will drain you. So introduce flexibility in your life. And you'll probably find with the reflectors as well that you like to travel. You like to do lots of different experiences. Now, it's also going to depend on your profile line and, and whether you've got like a 3 or a 1 or something like that. But as an energy type in general, you're going to want to be able to experience lots of different things. So I hope this is helpful. It's really interesting because there isn't a great deal of information out there about reflectors, and I still think that's one of the energy types that we need to probably explore a lot more. So if you are a reflector watching this, then please let me know, because I would so love to meet you. I get very, very excited when I have my reflector friends around me. Look after yourself, take care, and I'll speak to you very soon. Bye.